Welcome back to Buddha Lens, where we explore stories that bring wisdom, peace, and joy into our lives. In today's video, we'll journey through an ancient story that reveals the timeless teachings of Gautam Buddha, the secret to living a peaceful and happy life. This story holds a powerful message that has the potential to transform how you see the world, and more importantly, how you see yourself. So sit back, relax, and join me as we dive into this motivational tale of inner peace and happiness. Section 1. The Seeker of Peace. Once upon a time, in a small village by the banks of a wide, serene river, there lived a man named John. John was a hard-working man, devoted to his family and community. He had everything a person might wish for: a loving wife, 2 bright children, a flourishing farm, and good health. Yet, despite all his blessings, John felt a deep sense of unrest within him. Every day as he toiled on his farm or spent time with his family, he couldn't shake the feeling that John was missing. His mind was often filled with worries about the future. What if his crops failed? What if his family fell ill? What if he wasn't doing enough to secure their happiness? These thoughts troubled John so deeply that even when surrounded by the beauty of his village or the laughter of his children, he found it impossible to truly enjoy the present moment. The constant worries in his mind made peace seem like a distant dream. One evening, as John sat by the riverbank, staring at the calm water, an old traveler approached him. The man had kind eyes and a peaceful presence that seemed to glow from within. The traveler sat down next to John and said, "You seem troubled, my friend. What weighs so heavily on your heart?" John sighed and replied, "I have everything I need, yet my mind is always full of worry. I cannot find peace no matter how hard I try." The traveler smiled gently and said, "You are not alone. Many people seek peace and happiness, but they search for it in the wrong places. True peace cannot be found outside of you. It must be discovered within. Have you heard of the teachings of Gautam Buddha?" John's eyes lit up. He had heard of Buddha, the enlightened one, but had never thought his teachings could apply to his life. Curious, John asked, "Can you tell me about these teachings? How can I find the peace I am looking for?" The traveler nodded. "Let me tell you a story about a man not so different from you, and how he discovered the path to peace. Long ago, in a faraway kingdom, there was a wise and powerful king named Ananda. King Ananda ruled his kingdom with justice and kindness, and his people admired him deeply. Yet, despite his wealth, power, and respect, the king could not escape his own inner turmoil. Like John, King Ananda was constantly plagued by worries about the future. He feared losing his throne, disappointing his people, and failing to protect his kingdom. Every night, as he lay in his grand palace, his mind raced with anxious thoughts, preventing him from resting peacefully. One day, during a royal meeting, the king overheard 2 of his advisors speaking about a great teacher who had come to the nearby city. This teacher was none other than Gautam Buddha, a man known for his profound wisdom and ability to help others find peace. Intrigued and desperate for answers, King Ananda decided to seek Buddha's guidance. He traveled with his entourage to the city and found Buddha sitting under a large Bodhi tree, surrounded by people eager to hear his words. The king, though used to being the center of attention, quietly joined the crowd, listening intently as Buddha spoke. Buddha began, "The root of all suffering lies in our attachment. We suffer because we cling to things that are temporary: wealth, power, status, relationships, even our thoughts. These things are fleeting, yet we hold on to them as if they were permanent. And when they inevitably change, we experience pain and disappointment." The king's mind raced as he reflected on Buddha's words. He had always believed that his anxiety stemmed from the responsibilities of ruling a kingdom, but now he realized that much of his suffering came from his attachment to control and stability, things that, in reality, were beyond his control. Buddha continued, "To live a peaceful life, one must learn to let go of attachment. This doesn't mean abandoning the world or your duties. It means accepting that life is impermanent, and that true peace comes from within, not from external circumstances." The king felt a spark of understanding, but he wasn't sure how to apply this teaching to his life. He approached Buddha after the sermon and said, "Great teacher, I understand that attachment leads to suffering, but how can I let go of my attachments when my responsibilities require me to stay involved with the world?" Buddha smiled and replied, "The path to peace is not about withdrawing from the world, but about changing how you relate to it. Begin by practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in each moment, without letting your mind dwell on the past or worry about the future. When you are mindful, you can see things as they truly are, without the fog of attachment clouding your vision." Buddha then shared a simple exercise. Each day, take time to sit quietly and focus on your breath. When your mind wanders to worries or thoughts of the past, gently bring it back to the present moment. Over time, this practice will help you cultivate a calm and peaceful mind. The king thanked Buddha for this teaching, but before he left, he asked one final question. I understand how mindfulness can help me find peace within myself, but how can I extend that peace to others? As a king, the first am responsible for the well-being of my people. Buddha responded, peace begins with compassion. Just as you seek peace for yourself, you must also wish peace and happiness for others. By acting with kindness, patience, and understanding, you can spread peace to those around you. When you let go of attachment to your own desires and act from a place of love, you create a peaceful world, both within and without. King Ananda returned to his kingdom and began to practice what Buddha had taught him. Each morning he spent time in quiet meditation, focusing on his breath and grounding himself in the present moment. At first, it was difficult. His mind often wandered back to his worries, but with time and patience, he began to feel a sense of calm wash over him. He also applied Buddha's teaching of compassion. When dealing with his advisors, his people, and even his family, he started to listen more deeply, responding with kindness and understanding rather than impatience or frustration. Slowly, he noticed a change not only in himself but in those around him. His kingdom became a more peaceful place where people felt heard, respected, and cared for. And as for the king, his worries about the future began to fade. He no longer felt the need to control every outcome or cling to his power. Instead, he trusted in the natural flow of life, understanding that everything was impermanent, and true peace came from within. The traveler looked at John, who had been listening intently to the story of King Ananda's transformation. Do you see, my friend, the traveler said softly. The teachings of Buddha are not just for kings, they are for all of us. Peace doesn't depend on our circumstances, but on how we relate to them. By practicing mindfulness, letting go of attachment, and acting with compassion, we can all discover the path to a peaceful and happy life. John sat in silence, his heart filled with a new understanding. He realized that the peace he had been searching for was always within him, waiting to be uncovered. It wasn't something he needed to find outside of himself, it was something he needed to cultivate through his own thoughts, actions, and awareness. The traveler stood up to leave, but before he did, he offered John a final piece of advice. Remember, peace is a practice. It doesn't happen overnight, but with patience and dedication, you will begin to feel it grow within you, just as a seed grows into a mighty tree. With these words, the traveler continued on his journey, leaving John to sit by the river, watching the sun set over the calm waters. For the first time in a long while, John felt a sense of peace wash over him, a peace that came not from the world around him, but from within. Conclusion. And that, my friends, is the wisdom that Gautam Buddha shared with King Ananda, John, and now with us. The path to a peaceful, happy life is not found in controlling the world around us, but in changing how we see and relate to the world within us. By practicing mindfulness, letting go of attachment, and embracing compassion, we can all experience the inner peace we seek. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the foothills of a mountain, there lived a man named Kavi. He was like most of us, constantly chasing after happiness, but never quite finding it. He had a comfortable home, a loving family, and a job that paid him well. Yet, despite all of this, Kavi felt an emptiness in his heart. There was a storm of thoughts constantly brewing in his mind, worries about the future, regrets about the past, and dissatisfaction with the present. One day, while walking through the marketplace, Kavi overheard a group of people talking about a wise teacher who was passing through the nearby town. This teacher was known for his deep understanding of life and happiness, and his name was none other than Gautam Buddha. Intrigued and desperate for answers, Kavi decided to travel to the town to listen to Buddha speak. He hoped that perhaps Buddha could show him the way to true happiness. When Kavi arrived, he saw a large gathering of people seated under a huge Bodhi tree, where Buddha was delivering a sermon. His voice was calm, steady, and filled with compassion. Every word seemed to carry a sense of peace that touched the hearts of all who listened. After the sermon, people began to leave, but Kavi stayed behind, waiting for the chance to speak with Buddha. As the crowd dispersed, Kavi approached Buddha with a humble bow and asked, "Great teacher, I am searching for happiness, yet all I find is stress, worry, and suffering. How can I find peace and live a happy, stress-free life?" Buddha looked at Kavi with kindness in his eyes and said, The cause of your suffering lies not in the world around you, but in your mind. If you can learn to understand your own thoughts and desires, you will discover the path to happiness. Buddha continued, "The mind is like a wild monkey, constantly jumping from one thought to another. It clings to the past, worries about the future, and never rests in the present. This constant agitation is the source of your stress and suffering. To live a happy life, you must first calm this restless mind." Kavi, curious, asked, "But how can I control my mind? My thoughts feel so overwhelming." Buddha smiled gently and replied, "The mind cannot be controlled by force. Instead, it must be understood with patience and awareness. There are 3 key insights that will help you on this path. Let me share them with you." Buddha began, "The first thing you must understand is impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. Nothing lasts forever, neither pleasure nor pain, success nor failure. Suffering arises when you cling to things, expecting them to stay the same. When you accept the impermanence of life, you stop being attached to outcomes, and this brings a sense of peace." Kavi nodded, reflecting on how he often held on to the past and feared the future. Buddha's words made sense. Buddha continued, "The second insight is about desire. Most people believe that happiness comes from fulfilling their desires, but in reality, it is desire itself that creates suffering. When you constantly chase after things, money, status, approval, you're never satisfied, because the moment you achieve one desire, another takes its place. To find true happiness, you must let go of the need for more and learn to be content with what you have." Kavi was silent, thinking about all the times he had pursued material possessions, hoping they would bring him joy, only to find himself feeling empty again. Buddha concluded, "The final insight is about the present moment. Most of us live either in the past, regretting things we cannot change, or in the future, worrying about what might happen. But the truth is, happiness can only be found here and now, in the present. By practicing mindfulness, by being fully aware of your thoughts, actions, and surroundings in the present moment, you can free yourself from stress and experience the peace that is always available." Kavi felt a deep sense of understanding wash over him. He realized that his unhappiness came not from his circumstances, but from his own mind's habits, clinging, desiring, and constantly jumping between the past and future. Kavi thanked Buddha and returned home. Over the following days, he began practicing mindfulness, observing his thoughts without getting caught in them. Whenever he found himself worrying or regretting, he reminded himself of impermanence, accepting that everything would pass. He stopped chasing after desires and began appreciating the simple moments of life, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of his children, the taste of his food. At first, it wasn't easy. His mind, like a restless monkey, often pulled him back into old habits of stress and worry. But with practice, he found moments of calm and peace. Slowly, the constant agitation of his mind began to fade, and in its place, he found a deep sense of happiness that didn't depend on external circumstances. Years later, when Kavi heard that Buddha was once again passing through his village, he went to see him, not as a man searching for answers, but as someone who had found peace. Kavi bowed before Buddha and said, "I have followed your teachings and discovered happiness within myself. Thank you for showing me the way." Buddha smiled and said, "The secret to happiness is simple, but often overlooked. It lies not in the outside world, but in the stillness of your own mind. When you understand impermanence, let go of desire, and live in the present moment, you free yourself from suffering." With these final words, Kavi's heart was filled with gratitude and joy. He had finally discovered the secret to living a happy, stress-free life. And that, my friends, is the wisdom that Gautam Buddha shared with Kavi, and now with us. The path to happiness and a stress-free life doesn't lie in material things or external success. It's all about understanding our mind, letting go of attachment, and living fully in the present moment. I hope this story has brought some clarity and peace to your mind today. Remember, happiness is already within you. All you need to do is quiet your mind and let it rise to the surface. Thank you for watching. And remember, peace is within your reach. Until next time, stay mindful, stay peaceful, and may you find happiness in every moment. I hope this story has brought some clarity and peace to your heart today. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Buddha Lens, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story that can inspire and uplift your life. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Buddha Lens, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story that could change your life.